Hello everyone, welcome. I haven't been around for a while, but now I am back with a great tutorial. In this one, we are gonna model, UV unwrap, texture, and render this mouse. I have a very similar tutorial on the channel, but this tutorial is going to be a more detailed and a better version of the first one. This is the final result. I was just too lazy to render this out, but this is what we are gonna get at the end of the tutorial. I'm really happy with the results. I hope you will like it as well. Now, let's get into the tutorial. Alright, let's start with the blueprint. I want to load that into the front view, so I will click on the mouse. I will hit Shift and V, back, and I will select this one, increase up the transparency. Now we are good to go. My first object will be a plane. Change the orientation. Then I will roughly scale this until it covers the whole mouse. Now I will go back to the 3D view, hit NNB to see the wireframes. Let's zero out these. So first thing first, we are gonna need something in the middle, so I will increase up this to 2, but that single vertical line will not allow me an easy way to model such a round shape. So I will set this to 4, then I will increase up the height segments to 6. I want every polygon square as possible. I want a uniform mesh. Now I will make it editable. I will go into points mode, grab polygon pen tool, and adjust these points. I will basically try to mesh these points as much as possible, but let's enable symmetry before doing that. That should be enough. Now let's drop this plane into a sub-D, hold down Alt and click on sub-D or sub-dimension surface. Then I will select my mesh again and move this point for the last time. You can see the advantage of having a low poly mesh. It's quite easy to alter the mesh. Okay, that seems fine. Now I will turn this off. Double click on these edges. Hold down Ctrl and extrude these out. I will go into polygon mode, make a ellipse selection, and then I will make a fill selection. By the way, if you don't know the shortcuts, you can always hit V, go to select, and select whatever selection tool you want. It's quite handy. Now I got my frame, which means that I need to load in the same blueprint into the right view. So hit Shift and V back and load the same image in, increase the transparency. Once I have done that, I need to know if these image planes are aligned properly. For example, if I select that edge, which is on the left, it is also on the left in the front view. But when I look at the right view, this edge is not highlighted, which means that I need to change this view to left view. Okay, now that edge is highlighted. Also, let me hit Shift and V again and offset the image, as we want this image to model the side of the mouse. Okay, now I will select the points and adjust them again. If it is hard to see, you can hit Shift and V and lower that down. Okay. Again, same workflow. Try to mesh these points as much as possible. Let's move this up. Also, the distances between the points should be as equal as possible. Okay, looking nice. Then I will double click on these edges, then go to the front view. I will hit T and scale these on the X. Because I am trying to mesh these edges or the points to that panel cuts. Now let's go into points mode, hit Q. I will grab polygon pen tool again and enable symmetry hub. I want to check the left view again. Let's turn this off. I believe I forgot to mention I moved these points with the rectangle selection tool. This tool select the points that you cannot see in 2D view. So just select the points and move them around until you match them. Also, there is another option to see better while working in sub-D, which is called isoline editing. I will enable this. Select the mesh. Yeah, I think this is much better to see what's going on. All right, now let's turn this off. Hold down Control and extrude these out. I will hit T, start to scale them on the Z, then hold down Shift to flatten out these edges. And yeah, for positioning these edges, there is a bevel happening here. It might be hard to see, but yeah, you see these sharp edges. You need to work on them. So first, let me move these edges right over here, the starting point of that bevel. I will hit T and scale these in. Now we need to load in the same image plane or the blueprint into the top view. Hit Shift and V. First, obviously, go to top view, Shift and V, and load in the same image. Increase our transparency. Then I will change this panel to back because I want to work on the bottom of the mouse. Again, we need to offset the image. I will hit Q. And yeah, this is looking fine. It might be a little confusing to know what to move. So again, we could enable isoline editing. The top edges are looking fine. Then we could select this one, enable symmetry hub, and move it to the right. Then I will select that point. First, I should go into points mode, select that one, and move it to the right. Then I know that I should be working on these edges. So I should select that point, move it to the right, this one up. Perfect. Now I need to extrude these out for the last time by holding Control. Then I will hit T and scale them in. I will hit Q to adjust these points one more time. We are looking pretty close over here, so I can turn off the sub-D, also symmetry hub. Then I will grab Close Polygon Hole tool to close the hole. Then I will enable grid option. But this is not giving us a proper topology. We want something straight. So I will hit Ctrl Z, use the tool again, but this time I will use the patch one. It is still not good enough, so let's try to change the patch width to something like 1. Yes, this is exactly what we want. Then let me use the same tool on that side, close the hole. If it is not working, just exit the tool, hit E, click off, and select the tool again and close the hole. Nice. Since this part is quite round, I need to push this out. Just select these inner polygons in the middle and move them out. Then I will go into points mode, move these points slightly. Then I will just select these edges in the middle and move them out. This is going to make the surface a little bit rounder. Now I will start to select the edges that I want to sharpen. For example, these ones. I will Alt Shift, double click on them. By the way, let me turn this off. Okay, then we want these edges to be sharp, obviously. Normally, in this workflow, the workflow, you will add spotting edges to make the edges sharper, but this time in this tutorial I will be using weights because I will be gradually subdividing the mesh a few times. If I add these loop cuts, it's going to increase up the density a lot. So for that reason I will be using weights. So let's enable subd, grab the tool and weight these edges all the way up. Click off its NNA. If it is hard to see, you can select the font and lower it down. Yeah, perfect. Now let's work on that part because you want something smooth. So I will play around with these points and I will orbit around the mesh as much as possible because after you make this subd editable, there is no going back. Then I will check my panels and try to mesh these points. Again, for example, I need to move this out just a little bit further. Okay, let's go to the 3D view and orbit around the object. I want to move these, slide these up slightly because as I always say, I want these polygons as square as possible. I want a uniform mesh. Now I want to add a loop cut right in the middle of that loop on that frame. And the reason is I want to bulge it out slightly. And you can see it from the image plane. We are going to just a little bit curve. And for that reason, I will hold down Shift and add this loop right in the middle. Grab the loop cut tool, hold down Shift, add this one in. And in order to push these new edges out, I will enable profile. And I will reset the spline. This one, then I will load a preset, which is going to be that one. It's going to move these newly added edges out, which will give me that curved surface, but it's going to be too much. So I will set this to 5. That should be more than enough. Let's see. Nice. The top is also looking fine. Now I want to work on the bottom part just a little bit, because let me go to the left view. As you can tell, there are going to be lots of straight details coming in later. So if I straighten out these edges, it's going to make my job quite easier to model these upcoming details. In order to make these edges straight, first I will select them, obviously. Then I will enable axis mode so that I can move the axis of the selected edges on that point, because I don't want to move that point. It is holding up the curve. We spent some time on it, we try to match these points to the image plane, so we don't want to move these. So enable axis mode and move the axis on that point, turn this off, hit T, start to scale on the Y, then hold down Shift. This is gonna flatten out the selected edges, and I will do the same here. Enable this, put this on the point, turn this off, and scale. Now I will select these ones. This time though, if I enable axis and put it on that point, it's gonna change the position of that point down below. So I'm thinking about deselecting these edges, then use equal spacing tool. Now we are good to go. I will hold down Control and duplicate this. I will save this one as a backup, just in case we make a mistake. I will enable subdiv. I will change the subdivision amount to 1. 2 is going to be too much. And before proceeding further, something is off, obviously. So let me zoom in. I think this is happening because of some unwanted weights. So let's click on the weight tag. But no, I don't see any weight on these edges. Let me select that point. Okay, I got it. As you can see, it says there are 2 points. So somehow we duplicated the points over here, but it is quite easy to fix. Just select all the points and click on Optimize. Hit Q. And now it is looking perfect. Checking the mesh in wireframe mode is essential to detect any kind of artifacts. So try to do that time to time. Now we can make this editable. Actually, no, I will delete this one. Call this one back up again. And make this editable. Hit C. Nice. Now it is time to split up this mesh. So first, let's make a loop selection, UNL, then select that loop as well. Then I will make a full selection. Again, if you don't know the selections, you can always hit V, go to select and select whatever you want. Then I will split these out, go back to the original one and delete the polygons. Since there is no connection between that polygon island and that polygon island, I will be able to make a full selection easily. Then I will split these out, UNP, delete the polygons. I can start to rename these base, top, and frame. Then I will move this to the top and hide the other ones as I want to work on that part a little bit. So as you can see, we have lots of, not lots of, but quite challenging details to add in. Unfortunately, it's not going to be possible to get them all at once, which means that first I need to get that semicircular shape in the middle. Then I will subdivide my mesh. Then I will get these cuts in the middle, because it is not going to be possible to get a smooth surface, pinching free surface with the given amount of polygons, especially right around here. As you can see, that detail is so small compared to the rest of the mesh or the surface. So I know it with certainty that we are going to get pinching when I try to round out that part. So I will gradually subdivide my mesh. So first I will try to get that semicircular shape in the middle. To get it, I will need a profile, obviously. So I will add in a disk, change to orientation, move it up, scale it down. Disks with 6 segments are just great to model this kind of semicircular shapes. So set this to 6. I will just rotate it so that I will get that vertical line in the middle. Then hit W to switch to the world coordinates. It's going to be easier to move this around. I noticed that the edges in the middle of that mesh are not centered. So double click, then come over to the object manager, coordinate manager, set this to world, and come over to the X and zero these out, position and size. Which means that I will have to go back to the viewport settings and remove that offset. Okay, now I will move that disk up, hold down Alt, put this one into a sub D to see the final size of that disk. I will scale this up. Then I will hold down Control, move this up to duplicate it, and then move it down, then hit Q. Okay, now let's delete that sub D and connect these two disks. Then I will grab Polygon Pen tool, connect these points, hold down Control, and bridge these edges. Nice. Then I will select all the polygons in polygon mode, select extrude tool, and extrude these across. I will need to enable create caps option because I will use this disk under a bool, so it needs closed caps. Speaking of bool, let's select the top, hold down Alt, and add this one into a bool and put the disk under it. Nice. Before making this editable, let's move that point up. Then make it editable. Oh, sorry. Let's enable this. Hit C, grab Polygon Pen tool to clean up the mesh. Just clean these points up first, then connect these points. Then we need to move that point to that one, because the distances between the points should be the same. It is essential to get curved details. Same here. That point should be on that one. Then I could get rid of that one. Then I will hold down Control, remove these points, then connect this once. Okay, now I will grab Slide tool, slide these around. Okay, we are looking great over here. Now I will select these edges on each side and push them in on the Z. It's not probably coming through, but I need to push these edges in slightly. Don't push it too much though, otherwise it's not gonna look that smooth. By the way, let's put this one into a sub D. It's NNA. Yeah, for example, I think I moved these edges too much. So I'm thinking about moving the points only, like these ones. Then I will only select these ones to make the shape a little bit gradual. Put this one under a sub D again. Yeah, now that looks just a little bit better. I think I can move this just a little bit, not too much. So the transition between these edges will be smoother. We can double click on that one and check the flow. All right, looking nice. This one is also looking nice. Okay, I will put this one under a sub D again. I think this is looking more than enough. Now I will go into points mode, deselect everything, and I will grab brush tool and move these out slightly. Okay, perfect. This one is ready to be subdivided again. Just once. Hit C. Then I will double click on that one. Then select that edge. Hold down Ctrl and Shift and select the last one. And grab bevel tool and bevel this. It is that easy. Or before doing that, let me slide that point up. Then bevel them. Yes. I will hold down Ctrl and click on polygon mode. Then delete these polygons. Now let's fix the topology. I will grab polygon pen tool. I will first slide that point down. Then I will need supporting edges for that rounding, like over here and over here. As I said earlier, the distances between the points should be the same as much as possible. This is crucial to get a nice rounding. Then I will grab that tool again and I will connect this and sorry, not like that. I have to connect that one to that one and that one to that one. Now we are gonna have all quads. Now let's put this one under a sub D again and check the surface. Looking nice, no pinching at all. But to be sure, we need to first extrude these. I will select all the polygons, extrude tool, extrude these like that. Then I can delete these polygons as we are not gonna see that part, Then we are gonna need to add a bevel on these polygons. Let me show you. Yeah, I'm talking about this part. So I will just select the polygons. Oh, actually, sorry. First, I need to add the loop cuts. I will deselect this by holding Ctrl, loop selection tool. Then I will grab normal move tool. This is gonna scale these in along the normals. Yeah, something like that. Then I will get rid of these temporary loop cuts. I need to scale this on the X. Same here. Now I will drop this one into a sub D again, and something is not right. I think it is happening because of this leftover weight. I will just delete it. Also, I will increase up the phone angle again to get smooth polygons. Now I will need to make these edges sharper, obviously. So I will make a loop selection, UNL. Then I will add my supporting edges with bevel tool. I will select the solid mode and bevel these. I'm going to hit Q. Obviously, we need to make these corners sharper. So I will grab, this time let's use the line cut tool. I will enable single line and add these new edges. Same here. Then polygon pen tool to remove these diagonal edges. And if I hit Q, it's going to give me a perfect result. Nice. I will do the same here. Let's do that with the polygon pen tool. Hit Q. Nice. Then we have this part. Hit Q. Nice. And that part is also looking fine. I don't see any pinching, maybe just a little bit. And it is happening because of these diagonal edges. We usually do not want any kind of diagonal edges, especially on curved surfaces. But since we have a high poly mesh, it's going to be much more forgiving. But if you still see a little bit pinching, you can select these edges and push them in slightly, just a little bit. I don't know if it's coming through, but there is subtle pinching. It's not quite visible, but in order to remove it completely, we could connect these. This is going to essentially remove these diagonal edges. Then I will get rid of these. I know we have handguns, but if I subdivide it, it's going to look completely okay. So sometimes triangles and handguns are not that bad. So we are done with this part. I will call this back again top. Then let's, I don't know, let's open up the frame. I could group this. We don't have to subdivide the frame. If I subdivide my new subdivision surface, it's going to be absolutely okay. But if you want to be consistent with the densities of the meshes, you could subdivide that just a single time. Let's do that. Hit C, remove that weight. Then I will slide that loop slightly because we are going to need a little bit space between these two objects. Then I will double click on that edge loop as well and extrude these in. Hit D, extrude these in. Then I will drop in my loop cuts. As you can see, after that point, I am adding loop cuts to make the edges sharper, because after that point, I will not subdivide my mesh. I'm not talking about the subdivision surface object, by the way. I'm talking about literally subdividing the mesh by making the sub editable. Okay, let's hit Q, unhide this one, hit NNA. Now I will unhide the last one, base. I will call this back frame. We need to subdivide this, obviously. So Alt down Alt, add this one in. I will set this to 1. All right, these edges are looking perfect. Then hit C, remove the weight, and I will slide this in slightly. Then I will extrude these in with the extrude tool. Let's solo this object, and I will drop in these loops, or you can use the bevel tool again in solid mode. Hit Q, hit NNA, and here we go. It's looking perfect. Now we need to make these edges sharper as well. I don't think we are gonna need that one, so I could just get rid of it. Double click on that edge loop, slide tool, hold down Control. Then I will grab that loop with the loop selection tool. Again, I will use the slide tool to clone these edges in by holding Control. Hit Q. Right. Now our next mission is gonna be about getting these details on the back. First, let's get this count out of the way. So I will go to the left view, and that edge loop is right on the path of that cut. So why don't we just select these loops and dissolve them, since these are not contributing to the shape. Now I will grab line cut tool, turn off visible only so that I can cut through. Then I could turn off single line, and all I need to do is follow the cuts in the image plane. Nice. Then we need to finish that cut, which means that I will need a loop cut right around here. Then I will grab polygon pen tool and connect these points. Now we need to straighten out these points or edges. So first, let me select the proper edges. This one, then hold down Ctrl and Shift, select the last one. I want to move these or slide these down slightly. Then I will select this one. Then I will enable axis mode, put that axis on that point. Hit T, scale is on Y. And here we go. Now let's come over back to the back view. This time I will straighten out these edges. Select the first one, then hold down Ctrl and Shift, select the last one. This is gonna select the edges in between. Same here. Then I will move this down. These are looking quite flat. And then let me see. Okay, we are looking pretty much okay. Now I will equally distribute these edges around because I want a uniform surface. It is essential to get proper roundings. As I said earlier, the distances between the points are important in order to get proper roundings. So I will select these edges, right click. I will select one of my favorite tools, equal spacing tool. I will do the same for these vertical ones. Again, I'm using the same equal spacing tool. And here we go. Now I will select the edges that I want to bevel. Hold down Ctrl and Shift. Nice. Now let's grab bevel tool. I will set this back to chamfer and bevel them. Something like that will be enough. In order to get rid of these triangles, I will change my military to uniform. I will hold down Control, click on polygon mode, then extrude tool. This time we are not going to need caps, so turn this off and extrude these in. Maybe a little bit further. Now let's hit Q. These edges are too soft, obviously, so I will grab the selection tool and select these edges on each part. Then bevel tool, I will go back to the solid mode and bevel these edges. Hit Q, and here we go. Everything is looking perfect. Nice roundings. Now let's select what to work on next. Here we can work on that section. Again, I need to make these edges flat or straight. Also, since the surface is flat, it is quite hard to make a mistake because flat surfaces are incredibly forgiving. If you remove all these polygons and enable subd, it's gonna look okay. So let's move this up. Then I will move this down. Then I will select this, hit T, scale this on the Y only. Okay, now I will apply the same tool, equal spacing tool. Same here. Again, this is essential to get nice roundings. Equal spacing tool. I will select these polygons by holding right mouse. Hold down Control, move these in. Hit Q. Obviously, the edges are too soft. So this time I will make inset for these polygons so that I will get these edges as supporting edges. Then I will grab that edge loop, hold down Control, slide tool, and clone these out. That should make the edges sharp enough. If you are getting these sharp edges, it is because of the phone angle. Increase that up. Nice. By the way, let me rename this back to base. Our next detail is going to be that semicircle. So you know how the model is. You are going to need a disk with 6 segments. I will move this one over here, scale it down to see the final size. I will drop this one into a sub-D. Okay, I will need another one over here. Nice. Delete that one. Connect these two. Polygon pen tool. First go into point mode, obviously. Connect these, Alt and Control, and bridge these edges. This time, let's use a different technique. Instead of using a bool, I will just use cut tool, line cut tool, grab the tool, enable snap. Then I think we are good to go. I will select the base. I will just snap on the points. Of that disk. And that's gonna be it. I will just select these polygons and get rid of them. Get rid of the disk as well. Or I think we are gonna have another semicircle. Yeah, this one. So for that reason, I will just hide it. Now I will clean up the mesh. Turn this off, the snap. And this one is gonna be here. This one here. Now I will unhide this one because I need to know the position of the points so that I can slide that one over here and that one here, which means that I need to get rid of this one. So polygon pen tool, connect these points. I know we are gonna have a triangle, but as I said, it's not gonna be a problem since the surface is flat. You can also merge the points with the slide tool, Alt and Control. Okay, now I will just Alt and Control, or we can use the extrude tool. If you hold on Shift, it's going to change the angle of the new edges. Then extrude. Now all I need to do is drop in these loops. Nice. If you're obsessed with quad topology, there is always a solution. Like you can add these edges around and turn these triangles into quads. But as I said, it is unnecessary since the surface is flat. Now let's move that one over here. Rotate it 90 degrees. I will drop this one into a sub-D because I have no idea about the size of this object. Okay, that seems fine. The bottom part is going to be quite straight, so I will just add that line in, then connect these points. These are supposed to be over here. Okay, we are looking fine. I will grab the base, go into points mode and select the line cut tool and enable snap. And click on the points of the disk point one object. And that's gonna be it. Now I will go into polygon mode and delete all these polygons. Alt and Shift, select them all and delete them. Let's not forget this one as well. Now I will grab polygon pen tool, can turn off the snap and merge the points. Actually, when you have lots of points, to merge. I think it is easier and faster to use the brush selection tool with the weld tool. Just select the points and use the weld tool. Same here. Select the points, hit M and Q, and merge them. To switch to the previous tool, all you need to do is hit the spacebar. I will hit N and B because I need to know exactly where to put these points. Okay, I think we no longer need that object. I will move that up. Then I will hit these diagonal edges and move that edge to the right. Okay, these are looking equal. Maybe I can move it to the right a little bit more. Okay, it is looking perfectly fine. Double click, hit D, extrude these in, then move them on the Z. Let me scale these in just a little bit more. Okay, I will control, extrude these for the last time. Then to make the edges sharper, I will bevel these out. Select the solid mode. This one is looking off, but I can move it up. I know we have two triangles over here, but if I add in a line between them, I will be able to merge them, which will turn them into quads. Looking nice. Now we can work on these ones. It's going to be quite easy. All I need to do is select these polygons, make an inset, then use the fit circle tool and move it around. Some of the points may overlap, just slide them off. Okay, now let's do the same on the right side. Select these polygons, inset, and fit circle tool. Now I will select these polygons, Alt and Control, move them out, make an inset, move them in. Then I will split these out and hide the new ones, go back to the original one, and make an inset so that we could use these as supporting edges. I will hit Q. Obviously, we are going to need some supporting edges. I will select these edges, slide tool, hold down Control, clone these out. Then I will do the same here. Hit Q. This is looking fine enough. Double click, clone these out. Same here. Hit Q. Nice. Now let's unhide the new object. I will just extrude these out. It's going to be that easy. If I hit Q, these are going to look soft enough. All right, next up, let's try to model that detail. So first I need to find the object, which is this one. By the way, that point is overlapping. Let me move it to the left. Okay. So first I want to select the polygons that covers the detail. Then I will select all of these polygons. Then I will make an inset these polygons just a little bit. If I do it a little bit too much, you're gonna see that the distances between the points are not equal anymore, which is gonna break the roundness. So I'm gonna hit Ctrl Z and I will inset just a little bit. Then I will proceed by scaling these in. Okay, now I will make another inset again, just a little bit. Then I will scale these in. Now I will move these on the X. Then let's make an inset as supporting edges. Then I will select these edges and bevel them in solid mode. Depending on what you want, you can play around with the offset. If you want something smooth, you can do something like that. If you want something tight, you can do that. All right, this is looking nice. Then, yeah, we are gonna need detail. So I will select these polygons by holding right mouse. Just to get a little bit more space, I'm gonna move these up. Then I will make an inset. Oops, we skipped a polygon. Select this one, make an inset. Then I will select these edges, move them down, or actually let's flatten out these edges by scaling these down. Then the detail we want to get is a little bit curved. So I will move these edges down. Then I will deselect these, move this down, same process. Then I think it is time to enable symmetry. Then I will basically just adjust these points. I will try to match this as much as possible. This one over here, this one here. Try to keep it as even as possible. By the way, I cannot slide that point. Okay, now it worked. As I said, try to keep it as even as possible. I am talking about the distances between the points. If you do that, your detail will look smooth and round enough. Okay, the other side is also looking fine. Then I will move these out by holding Control, then an inset, then I will hold down Control, move these in. And finally, I will split these out. Go back to the base and delete the polygons. And I will hold down Control, extrude these out. Let's see, hit Q. All right, these are looking smooth enough. Now I will go back to the base because we need to drop in some loops to make the edges sharper. Just double click on that loop and hold down Control, clone these out. Hit Q. I will need to add this one in and add this one in as well. Okay, we are looking fine. Now we can, I don't know, we can model that bottom. So I will just spit out these polygons, make a loop selection, then hit U and P. I will select these points and I will move them on the X. By the way, I will solo these objects and remove these edges because we don't have enough room. I will move this to the left or right. Then I will move these out slightly, then close the hole with the close polygon hole tool. I will select the grid one. Grid one usually works the best whenever we have exact amount of points or edges on each side, like we have 4 here and 4 over here. So in such cases, close polygon hole tool with the grid option works the best. Now I will make an inset and move these out. And finally, I will select these edges and move them out as well. This is going to give us a nice curve. To be sure, obviously, we need to enable sub-D. All right, looking fine. I think, yeah, I should add this one in as well. Okay, looking perfect. Then I believe, yeah, I have something in the middle. So I will double click on the middle loop. Then I will use bevel tool, select the chamfer. Then I will select these polygons, hold down Control, move them out, hit Q. We need to drop in those loops. Click off. All right, looking fine. We can remove unnecessary edges by connecting these points. And it's not going to change the look. Actually, it's going to make it look even better. So this one, sorry, not like this. That one to that one, that one to that one, and get rid of these points. Hit Q, and here we go, looking perfect. Now let's work on the laser part. If I remember correctly, I added in a cube. Let's do that. Cube. It's supposed to be over here. Scale it down. Okay, then I will make it editable. Of course, we need to push that in. Make it editable, then add that loop in so that I could extrude that polygon down here. Okay, then we are gonna need these loops so that I can move that polygon on the X. I will adjust these points. Okay, then I have a circular disk over here, semicircular disk over here. So why don't we hide this subdi group and add in a disk, change the orientation. Let's enable snap and enable the edge mode so that I can put that disk right on that edge, scale it down. I will set this to 6. I will rotate it. Then I will select this cube, line cut tool, and snap the cut on the points. Now we can get rid of that disk. By the way, we can get rid of these polygons as these are not going to be visible. Okay, then polygon pen tool, turn off the snap, and yeah, I will just correct my topology by connecting these empty points. Get rid of this one. Then I will add these in. Okay, now we have all quads. I can drop in that loop. Then I will hold down Control, move these out. I will add that center edge loop. I will drop this one into a sub-D. Something is not right here. Let's hit N and B. Get rid of that point. Still not looking well. Well, I need to get rid of that polygon. Hit Q. Then connect these two. Okay, now we need to delete that point. As you can see, by checking the mesh in wireframe mode is essential to detect this kind of glitches, problems. Now I will move that out. Hit Q, add this one in, then that one and that one. Okay, then I will drop in these. Then I will have a circular detail over here. So let's drop in that one as well. Deselect these, make an inset, then use the fit circle tool. It is supposed to be slightly larger. So I need to move these overlapping points out. Then I will hold down Control, move these out. Then in order to curve it out, I will move that point on the Z. And here we go. What about that part? It is not looking good enough, to be honest. So I will move it out along with these ones. And then maybe that point is supposed to be here along with this one. Okay, then I will select these edges and clone them out by holding Control. Use the slide tool. I will drop in another loop. Connect these like that. Then I will connect these points. Then I will add that straight line in to get rid of these triangles. Q. Okay, this is going to be more than enough. Again, you can get rid of excessive points by connecting these points like that. Then you can double click on these edges and use the Dissolve tool. Is there anything like that? I don't know. Let's check it out. By the way, I can add this one in as well. So I can connect these edges, points like that. Then double click on these edges. Then simply hit M and N, Dissolve tool. Okay, this is looking just perfect. I will stop over here and put this one under the null, and I can call this laser. And unhide the group. This one is the button. This one. Actually, I can select these two and group them, or just use connect objects and delete. And call these plastic, maybe. Now it is time to model the last piece, which is gonna be the mouse wheel. So let's drop in a new object. It's gonna be a cylinder. Change the orientation, move it here, and it looks like we got the perfect radius for this cylinder. Then scale it on the X. Then I will increase up the rotation segments to 64. Make it editable. Then grab these polygons. You could use loop selection on or Funk Break selection tool. Hit T, scale this like so. Then I will grow up the selection one time, U and Y. Or you can hit V, select, and select the grow selection. Scale these in as well, so that we are gonna get a nice rounding. Now I will select these edges, bevel them out, increase that up to 1. Then I will grab polygon pen tool, go into points mode, and connect these points. Then I will select these edges in the middle, right click on one of the axes and set this to normal, so that I will be able to move that along its normals. Now we have some triangles. We need to get rid of them because these are right on a curve. So I will select them and dissolve them. I can scale this on the X. Let's put this one under our sub-D group. Hit Q, click off. All right, looking fine, but that point breaks the smoothness of the shape. So I will need to drop in that loop. Now it's gonna look really nice. Same here. This is happening because that point, or we could call it hole, is right on a sharp edge, which is right in between the curve, is causing that bad look. Also, we have triangles. So that loop should reduce that bad looking polygons. Okay, from that distance, it is looking quite well. Now I will need to duplicate this detail around. So I will just select these polygons. It's going to be enough to repeat this detail. Let's solve it. I will invert the selection, UNI. Delete this. I worked on two loops, which means that if I drop this one into a symmetry, select the radial, change the axis, and if I set this to 32, because if you remember, the original cylinder had 64 segments, and I worked on two loops. So if I set this to 32, I will get back the same cylinder, plus I will have these details. And the next thing we can do is click on Weld and make the symmetry editable. We can delete that null, hit C, and here we go. If you get this marks, it means that it is either the phone tag, turn this off, increase up the phone angle, click off, or it is unconnected points. Even though I enabled weld option in the symmetry settings, sometimes it does not work. If so, just select all the points and click on optimize. Nice. And finally, I want to get rid of these triangles. It's not that important, but nobody likes triangles. I will use close polygon hole tool. And that is looking pretty fine. Same here. Q. And here we go. We modeled everything. Oh, sorry, actually, I forgot to put a plane right below that button, so I will change the orientation, scale it down. Okay, something like that. Now here comes the most difficult part. We need to scale that mouse down to a reasonable size. I have the same mouse, so I know the height of this mouse. So I will drop in a cube and change its size to 10 centimeters. Then I will select my null, sub D null. Then I will scale that mouse down until it fits into that box. You can delete the cube. And that's it. Let's zoom in, hit S. Before moving on to the next stage, I want to check the normals. Select the first one, or we can select them all. We could go into polygon mode, hit Control A. First, we need to turn off solo mode. Select them all, turn off sub D. So we need to flip this one, double click, hit UNR, or we can right click, select the reverse normals. I will select them all again, Control A, and we need to flip this one as well, double click on it, UNR, and that's gonna be it. You can also drop in another loop cut right in the middle. It's not essential, but if you want to keep the uniformity of the mesh, you can hit this loop in, and yeah, that's gonna be it for that part. Now I will see you in the next one. The next step is UV unwrapping, as you can guess. So let's switch over to the UV edit layout. And then let's select the frame. I will solo it first, and I will try my luck at automatic UV. Let's select the packed one and click on apply. And this is looking good on paper, but when I enable UV map, and let me solo this again, as you can see, the result is not very promising. It is not looking very well. So I will reset these UVs and let me turn off sub D, and let's turn this off. I think the projection is going to be perfect for this one. First, I will go to the front view, then come over to the projection tab and click on frontal. This is going to obviously cause some distortion. If I enable UV map, you will see a great amount of distortion. But to fix that, I know a great way. So just double click on that edge loop, the sharpest one, then hold down Control and click on points mode. Then I will click on add UV pins. This is gonna lock these points. Then I will select all these polygons, come over to the relax UV and enable use UV pins, then apply. That should remove most of the distortion. Yeah, exactly. Also, we are not going to put any texture on that mesh, so I don't think we need to spend any more time on this object. So I will just select the polygon islands or UV islands and pick this. Then I will move on to the next one, which is going to be the top. First, let's turn this off and reset the UVs. By the way, before recording this part, I reset the UVs of these objects. So that's why you don't see anything on the left side. You can do the same. You will probably have broken UV. So just select all the polygons and click on reset UV for a fresh start. Again, we could use projection for that object. Let's go to the front, then come over to the projection, click on frontal. This is again will cause some distortion because our object is 3D, but this view is 2D and projection is 2D. But I don't think it's gonna be too much, the amount of distortion. And also, I will not put any texture on that part, so we are okay to move on. Right, this one. Oh, sorry. Let's pack this. I will select the plastic one. Solo these. Let's first project these. Projection, frontal. Because of the projection, 2D projection, we will lose some information, especially on these polygons, because you cannot project these polygons. So in order to unwrap them, I will just select that loop with loop selection tool, select that edge as a seam. Then I will open up the options of the UV Unwrap tool and enable restricted polygon selection. And that's it. Now I will select these polygons only. Edge mode, select the seam, then unwrap them. I will rotate this 90 degrees. Okay, same here. Loop selection, edge, select the seam, and click on UV Unwrap. I will rotate that one as well. Then I will select them all, Ctrl A, and pack them. You need to flip this one. So double click on that island. Mirror U. Nice. What about these ones? All right, again, same. I will pack them again, but this time I will enable preserve orientation because, we have just flipped them into the correct orientation. Okay, we are done with this one. Now the button, let's solo it. I will try my luck at packed one. Not that good. Maybe angle is gonna work better. Yeah, this looks much better. Again, since I will not put any texture on this object, I will move on to the next one. Hide this one. Let's unhide this one. Okay, this is the most important piece we need to work on because, we are gonna put textures on it, especially on the flat surfaces on the bottom part. So first, let me turn this off. And I will select that seam because it is starting point of that flat surface. So once I have selected that flat area with the fill selection tool, I will make another projection. But when I go to the front view, it is flipped cameras and I will set this to right. Sorry, not right. Back. It is. Okay. No, then I will click on frontal. I will open up the UV map. Also, another important thing to take note of is distortion when you enable sub-D. We need to test it out as well. So I will hit Q. All right, we are getting just a little bit distortion right around that corner, but it is acceptable. Just a tiny bit over here, but nothing significant, which means that I could move on. These are looking perfect. Then let me make a loop selection in polygon mode so that I could select that loop and make a fill selection. I will again use the same method, projection, and maybe we can scale this up. Actually, let's move it to the side and double click on the edge loop, convert those into points, add UV pins and relax them. This is going to remove some of the distortion. It is not important, you can skip that part. Okay, then I will make another fill selection. This time, since this is a cylindrical surface, we will need an exit point, aka a seam. So I will select that edge, hold down Ctrl and Shift and select the last one. Now I want to make sure that this is selected. Click on OK. I will scale that up. I am thinking about selecting these edges. I will hold down Ctrl and select these ones. I just want these at the top in these islands. Then I will hold down Ctrl. First I will straighten out these edges. Click on UV straighten. Then I will hold down Ctrl and convert these into points and add UV pins. Then I will relax these. Yes, now it looks much better. Then I will pack this with UV packing. Actually, you know what? This is the most important piece that we need to work on. So it should have the most space in the UV. So I will select these and click on UV packing. Then I will select this one and rotate it and pack it. I will right click, UV transform and move it to the right. Okay, that's gonna be it. Alright, this one. Next up, the laser. Since this is a very angular shape, I think I will be okay with automatic UV. Yes, looking pretty good. And the wheel. For this one, let's make funk break selection tool to select these flat polygons, and I will click on UV Unwrap straight up because it is the perfect tool for such polygons or surfaces. Then I will end up with that loop in the middle. This is a cylindrical surface. I can select these ones as a seam, then click on UV Unwrap, and that's it. Now let's pack these. That's gonna be it. I don't need to unwrap the plane. First, it is already UV'd, and second, I am not going to put any texture on it. I will just put a flat color. Alright, that is it for the UV unwrapping. Now we need to switch to the paint layout so that I will be able to export out the UVs of the base object. So let's click on paint. And we need to open up the 3D setup wizard. I will deselect all because I just want to work on the base, which is this one. Say next. Turn off recalculate UV because we have just did that. Say next. For the resolution, I will set this to 4K. It's going to be more than enough. Finish. And that's it. Let's come over to the texture UV editor. And I will come over to the layers. As you can see, we have a single layer, single color. Now I want to have the information of the UVs in this texture. To do that, I will come over to the layer and click on Create UV Mesh Layer. Perfect. Now we have the layer, which we will use in Photoshop. It is hard to see, but if you zoom in, you will start to see these white lines. Okay, it is time to save this file as file, save texture as JPEG is going to be more than enough. Say okay. I will save this one as UV base too because I worked on this object earlier. Now we can move on to the next step, which is rendering. So I will switch to standard mode. By the way, I will just delete that material which came from the body paint and delete this one as well. Okay, now we are good to go. Let's do the basic setup. I will open up the render settings. I'm not going to change a lot, just global illumination and the sampling. By the way, in this one I will be using Redshift, but you should be able to follow me along if you are using Octane or any other one. Okay, then yeah, I will add in a cube as a stage. Let's zoom out. I will scale it on the X. Then I will make it editable. Then get rid of the polygon. Okay, I will be using this cube as a stage. Then I will add in two area lights. I will just rotate it by holding Shift, move it over here, scale it down. Okay, nice. Then I will hold on Control and move it on the X to duplicate this off and rotate it. Nice. Now let's create a cam real quick, enable it. I want a narrow lens, so I will set this to 85. I will reset out this. And finally, I will move this cam on the Z to zoom out. By the way, I forgot to change my resolution. Let's come over to the output and set this to 1280, which means that I need to zoom in just a little bit more. And that's gonna be it for the basic setup. Now I will open up the render view, Redshift render view, and I will snap it to the right. And let's click on render. By the way, this is set to fixed scaling, which will double the resolution size. So I will set this to 100. This one as well. And yeah, as you can see, these lights are too intense. Let's turn this off and lower these to 50 maybe. Still too much. I will set this to 25. Then I will open up the other one, the one on the left. We could call this right light and left light. I will set this to something like 15. I just want to have a little bit contrast in the image. Let's enable sub D. Rotate this around. Still too strong, the intensities of the lights, but it's going to be enough for us to work on the materials. Speaking of that, let's create our first material. Double click, and I will put it on the sub D or the null. This is going to automatically apply this material on these objects below. Then open up the material. Let's use this area to work on the materials. Okay. First thing first, I want to add in a color layer in advance because I will be dealing with FF textures and colors. So let's add this color layer in advance this is gonna save a ton of time. I will turn off layer 1. By the way, right now I am working on the color. And I will set this to something like 5 or 3. Also, I just want to render that region only. Okay, this is looking fine. Then I will work on the bump channel. Hold on Control, drag this down. Then I will connect this to the bump map. Actually, no, sorry. To use the bump map aspect of the material, you will need a node called bump map. Yes. Then this will go to the bump map. Then I will link that color layer to the input of the bump map node. Now I have this layer, but I will set this to black. Then I will add in a noise. Add this one in. Then I will link that to the layer 1. Select the color layer and enable layer 1. We will not see anything because the size of that noise is too much. If I solo it, you will see it. So we need to scale that down. So I will come over here and set this to something like 100 or 200. I'm trying to create a very rough plastic material. So that's why I am using that noise to get that look. So I will turn this off. This is incredibly too strong. First thing first, we could go to the bump map node and we can lower the scale to something like 0.1. It's not going to be enough. So I will enable layer 2. This is going to override everything. But if I slightly bring that amount down, I will start to see the noise like 0.97. Now we need to work on the roughness. Right now it is too shiny. So that's why we are going to need another color layer. Pipe this one into the roughness. So this base layer, this color will be controlling the overall roughness. So if I make this one lighter, it's going to be rougher, obviously. Maybe we can set this to 50%. By the way, I want to set this to 200, so I will be able to zoom in. This is going to give us more idea about the surface. And I think I could scale this again, like 300. I want micro details. Yeah, this one is looking quite fine. Now I want to use this noise to alter the roughness aspect of the material. So I will pipe this one into the layer 1. Select this color layer, which is controlling the roughness of the material, and enable layer 1. But before enabling this one, let me send this to the picture viewer. Then I will enable layer 1. I will wait a few seconds. And I will send this over to the picture viewer. And you will start to see the difference between these two images. By adding that noise, I was able to add a subtle detail to it. And yeah, I think this is going to be enough for this material. Let's close this and I will call this base. Then the next material I want to work on is going to be the one that I will put on the frame. So let's rotate this object, the mouse, and create a new material. I will call this frame and I will put this one on the frame. Let's move that to the left, and this time I will not use color layer because I like to use color layer when I am about to create a complex shader. This one is not going to be that complex, so we will be okay with this color option only. Set this to something like 5, again a dark color. Then I will remove the roughness, which will make the material quite shiny. So in order to break that, I will add a noise again. Then bump map node. I will connect these, then this will go to the bump map. I will use this noise to add a little bit distortion to the surface. Just a little bit. I will select the noise. Again, I need to scale that up like 1, but it's going to be too much. You can see the distortion amount. So I will come over to the bump map and set this to 1. I want something subtle again, 0.2 maybe. Now I want to work on the roughness. This time I will be using a texture to add imperfections to the roughness. So hit this one in, click on that icon. I will, let's see, I will select this one, saying no. Then I will pipe this one into the roughness. Obviously, this is going to be too much. In order to alter the texture, I will use a ramp node. I will put that node right on the connection. Okay, we want something subtle, so I will set this white color to a darker one, which will remove most of these imperfections. Then the black one is controlling the overall roughness. So if I make this one lighter, my shader will become rougher. The mouse is quite shiny, so I want something like that. Depending on what you want, you can play around with these. I want something subtle, so this is okay for me. By the way, let's set this to 100. Now we need to work on the most important parts. So I will set this to minus 100. Close these out and open up the base again. Now we will start to bring in the textures that I prepared in Photoshop. Now I will first show you what I did for the color channel. So let's head over to the Photoshop. So let me break down what I have done in Photoshop. It is quite easy, nothing fancy. I have this UV texture from Cinema 4D. Then I have this image, which I took from a real image of the mouse. Then I have these icons and these texts. And finally, I have these backgrounds. That's it. Control Alt S, JPEG, and I will call this color base. Then we will switch back over to the Cinema 4D and use this texture. Okay, I will type in texture, add this one in, and select that texture, which we have just exported from Photoshop. So let's pipe this one into layer 1 color. And obviously we need to enable layer 1. First thing you will notice, it is this texture is overwriting everything because I haven't changed the blend mode yet. So let's try something like multiply. Looking nice, but if I bring in the texture that we prepared in Photoshop, these two just don't match. Even if I change this blending mode. So that's why I need to mask that texture out. And I will do that with another texture, which I will be using for the bump. Speaking of that, let's switch back to Photoshop and let me show you what I did there. It is pretty much the same texture. In this one, I just, let me show you, enable this color overlay because this is going to be a bump texture. And that's it basically. Control Alt S, JPEG, and bump base. And let's go back to Cinema 4D. I will just hold down Control, copy this texture, move it down over here because I will use this for bump. And I will select the texture we have just exported from Photoshop, which is this bump base. Say no, and I will link this to the layer 2 because it is the empty one. I think it is time to zoom in again, so I will set this to 200 and render this region only. And to see it better, I will just rotate it slightly. Yeah, okay. The bump map is working properly. The blacks in these textures are pushed in, and this is exactly what I want. Now I have another problem. This noise is affecting every part, but I don't want this noise to affect these pushed in areas. To do that, I will use this texture, the same texture, to mask out the noise, and it's going to be quite easy. All I need to do is link these to the mask of the layer 1. Yes, exactly. There's a little bit noise going on, but these noises are coming from the roughness. I will use this texture again to mask out something, and it's going to be this texture we used for the color. So again, I will just pipe this one into the layer 1 mask. Now I will select my layer and I will bring this blend mode back to normal. Now I need to invert that bump map. So let's add in a ramp right on the connection. Right click and click on invert gradient. that should fix the problem. And what is more, if I render this area which was broken before, and if I bring this one in, now we got a really good result. Obviously, the rendered version is brighter because there's a light on the left. Next up, we have another texture, which I will be using to alter the roughness of this material. And I will basically use that texture to mask out the roughness, especially this color, because right now this is overriding everything. But I want some parts to be shiny, such as these pushed in areas. So let's go back to the Photoshop. And this is basically the same texture. I just mask out this texture, then I played around with this setting, and that's it basically. Now I will save this as it's Control Alt S, JPEG, and roughness, base. Hit OK. Let's duplicate this texture node and load that image. Say no. I know it is getting crowded over here, but this is the nature of complex materials. Anyway, so I will use this one for roughness. So I will pipe this one into the layer 2 because it is the empty one right now. And let's enable it. This is set to normal, so it is overriding everything. But I just want to use the blacks in this texture to mask out this color. So I will come over here and select the multiply one. So if I only render this region and if I start to rotate my mouse around, you will see exactly what I am talking about. The blacks in this texture are 100% shiny. If you find it too shiny, you can add in a ramp and change the black value of that ramp. But for me, this is looking just perfect. This is exactly what I want. Now we are going to work on a quite interesting part, which is going to be the laser part. So there is supposed to be a microchip right in here. So to fake it, I will be using a material, this material. And it has all these necessary maps in it. But first we need to model something. Let me go to the back. I will change this to perspective. It's NNA so that I can work in here without changing the camera. Then, while this laser is selected, I will hold down Shift and add in a cube. Let's turn off sub D and scale that down. Somewhere around here. I will hit NNG to see through. Okay, then hit C to make it editable. I will drop in a loop right here. Then I will hold down Control, move that polygon down to extrude, remove these polygons on the sides, and that's it. Or maybe we can delete these as well. Now let's create the material. I will just double click, open that up, and I will select color, metalness, roughness, and the normal map. I don't want to use the displacement. It's not necessary. Then I will bring those in, say no. And let's see, this is metalness. So I will pipe this one into the roughness, metalness. This one is the roughness. So that one goes to the roughness. We have this color, which goes to the color. And finally, we have this normal map. I have to pipe this one into the bump map, but again, to use that slot, I will need bump map node. In addition, I need to change its map type to tangent space normal. Then link that to the bump map. And that's it for the material. Then I will put this one on the cube. Or let's call this chip. I will also call this chip. I will delete this one. I worked on this one earlier. Then let's hit render. We zoomed in too much because I haven't set this to RSCam. All right, let's enable sub D. Let's hide the laser for a few seconds. So this is not looking well. First reason is it is subdivided, which rounds out the shape. So I will select these edges, hit Q, and weight them. I will also weight the points, hit NNG, select these corners, hit Q, and weight them. Since I haven't unwrapped this object, it is quite normal to get that glitch. We don't have to always unwrap the UVs. I could use projections. And cubic is perfect for such an angular shape. So let's select the cubic. I will enable texture mode, hit T, and scale that down. Let me rotate the mouse. Yeah, this part is looking quite interesting. Again, depending on what you want or like, you can move this around, change the scale, whatever you like. But this one is looking quite nice as it's gonna catch lots of reflections. Then I want to unhide the laser. I want to put a material on it, a glass material specifically. Put this one on. I will call this glass, and I will increase up the weight of the transmission. Enable sub D. Then I will increase up the extra roughness. And yeah, this is looking quite nice. Let me only render out that section. This part is too dark to me. I don't know. Maybe we can reset the rotation and move this point on the Z. Let me set this to world. Yeah, something like that. I don't know if it's gonna do anything significant. Yeah, whenever it catches highlights, yeah, it looks really good. So I'm okay with this one. So let's set this to 100. Let's reset this. Now, as you can see, this is not looking right because this material is being applied on everything under the null. So we need to create a separate material just for the top parts. So I will just hold down Control and duplicate this base. And I will call this top, open it up. I will basically remove the textures. For example, we could get rid of that texture, which I used for the color. I will just delete. Also, we need to put this one on the top. All right. Next up, we could delete the bump map, bump texture. I'm not going to completely delete the bump because I want that noise in the material. So I will just delete that texture, which means that I could delete that one as well. Now I will come over to the roughness and I will just delete that one. Also, since I have just deleted that texture, I need to turn off layer 2. I should do the same here for this color layer, which is controlling the color. This is overriding everything right now. Layer 1. Let's turn this off. And here we go. This time, let's try to make something interesting. I want this mouse to look like a little bit worn out by the fingers. So to do that, I will use a node called curvature. Let's type in that and add this one in. And I will use this node to control the roughness of this material. So I will type this one into the layer 2, enable this one. Again, it is going to override everything. Let's just forget about that for a few seconds. I will first solo this node because we need to make some adjustments to it. First, I will change this to concave and I will enable consider same objects only. Then I will lower that down to something like 0.05. But this is not going to be enough. I need to increase up the intensity of this texture. Basically, I want more whites in it. So I will come over to the remap and increase up the bias. Now we need to invert this texture because white means roughness, but I want the opposite. I want these white areas to be shiny or less rough. So in order to do that, I will come over to the max and lower it down below 0, like -2. Then I will increase that up. I will set this to -5 maybe, and this to 2. All right, now I should be able to blend this. Let's turn off solo mode. I will select my color layer, which is controlling the roughness. Right now it is set to 1. I need to bring that down to 0 first. I will set this to 2, depending on what you want. Let me rotate this to catch a highlight. Yeah, I have started to see it, but it is not very visible. So maybe around 0.3 is what we are looking for. And maybe we could play around with this, you know. It is something subtle, but it's gonna look really good when we animate this mouse. And this is gonna be enough for this part. Also, I highly recommend rendering these with bucket rendering time to time to see the final result. Okay, it looks fine to me. Now, again, this material is being applied on the wheel. So let's create a new material for this one. I will call this wheel and put it on the wheel. Let's turn this off. And I don't think we need to open up the material editor. I will just set this to something like 5, then increase up the roughness to something like 0.6. We should make it a little bit darker. Now let me assign the final materials. I will just double click. Okay, now this will be on this plastic part. So I will put this one on the plastic and I will change this color to black, obviously, and I will set this to something like 0.5. And finally, I will use this material, which I used on the top object. I will use this one on the bottom. All right, looking fine. And now we can start to work on the final look of this render. I will just duplicate this cam and enable it. To add a little bit more contrast, I will select the light on the left and change its intensity to 5. Then I will zoom in and we can rotate this mouse. Then I will select this new cam. We can enable bouquet and pick a focus point. I will click on this laser part as it is the most interesting part of this mouse. Then we can increase up the vignettes. Then select the mouse, rotate this around. I will click on the laser part again. And yeah, this is looking quite fine. Now let me see what this is going to look like in the final render. So I will click on bucket rendering and I will wait for a few seconds. Depending on what you want, you can add more imperfections to the materials because there are enough room to do that thanks to these color layers. I'm really happy with the final render. It is looking quite well. And that is gonna be it. Thank you very much for hanging out with me. If you are still here, I know that was a long one, but I want to show you as much as possible in a single tutorial. If you have any questions, just let me know. And you can also very welcome to join the Discord channel. You can find the link down below. And I will see you in the next ones. Bye.